a larger circuit with a few lights on it also, that's a no-no. They'll flunk you on that. So once you get your circuits above 20 amps, that's not a lighting circuit. You want to be able to actually trip and discover that you have a failure. So let's see, what have we done? I'm inside the house once, and all of a sudden I hear my wife say, "Oh my gosh, we've got Erica's violin lesson," and she yells through the rooms, "See, I gotta go." And she goes. I hear a door slam. She comes back in. "I ran over the battery charger. Bye." I'm like, "What?" And so you have a dead battery in the lawnmower, right? Because it's been all winter, and you plug in the battery charger, and it's right there beside where the car is in the garage. And so if you're backing up and you turn the corner, you'll back right over it if you didn't see it getting in the car. You're in a hurry. She didn't see it. You know those little battery chargers? You ever seen one of those perfectly flat? And it's about this big now. I mean, it's flat as a pancake. Well, it's all plugged in. Now, it's all plugged in, charging the battery. What happens when you flatten it?
Something's got to touch.
Something's got to touch. Did not discover that till late that night when I realized that a quarter of the house had no lighting. And it's like, well, that's a breaker. All the convenience plugs that went through the garage, the back bedroom, and the hallway down there, all dead. So it's just like, and you hear that. What I didn't hear with the vehicle running over the battery charger was the little tick of the circuit breaker popping. So anyway, that's what you have circuit breakers on there. They're on there for safety. You want to be, let's see. And branch circuits. These days, branch circuits, older houses. How many of you live in houses back home that are more than, say, 40 years old? 40? Yeah. 40 years old. So once you get a little bit of hold on here, you might have 15 amp circuits as a branch circuit. That's going the way of the dodo bird. Next size up is 20 amp. And then once you get past 20 amp, it's 30, 40, and 50. Every once in a while, a 60 amp circuit, but not very often. Majority of your lighting and convenience outlets are 20 amp circuits these days. Okay, once you get into 30 amps, that's into your 240 volt circuits, and it's into your ranges and your air conditioning types of things. So that's what that's for. Another kind of clue is when you go into a house, especially when you just move into a new apartment or a new house and you have not checked everything else out. You have overloaded circuits or circuits that aren't sized right, or you have wires that are loose or whatever. You can see and hear circuit breakers popping in frequently for no reason. No apparent reason. Well, there is a reason. You need to find it. Other things are heating appliances never getting up to temperature. You have a stove or a range that's not got the right voltage, or it doesn't get the right amount of current, or too big of a voltage drop before it gets there, it doesn't get up to the right temperature. Now, if I'm overloading a circuit and it causes the voltage to drop, what happens to motors? Yeah, get hot. The voltage drops, it's still trying to pull the same amount of power, so the voltage goes down, the current goes up. And what happens to your heating losses? By a factor of something. It's squared, because what are your power is equal to I squared R. It's what you call your I squared R losses. So if you have too skimpy a wire in your house causing a big voltage drop before it gets to something that uses it, then your current's going to go up and your losses in that device go up by the square of the current. So your problem goes up rather dramatically, rather quickly. So these are some of the things that once you start putting together all these chapters, it goes, oh yeah, okay, that's why we do that. So when in doubt, oversize the wires. Okay, now, how about our branch circuits? they give you a rating for each outlet in the chapter. How much was that for each outlet? We're gonna size it for
180 watts.
180 watts, or, in the way we're gonna use it here, 180 volt amps, or 180 VA. Okay, now, if my lighting and convenience circuits are 15 amps and 20 amps, from that, I can figure out pretty quickly how many plugs I can put on one circuit. So, 15 amp circuit. Now on the whole circuit, I'm not going to load that 15 amp circuit any more than what value of that total value? 80%. Okay, 80% of 15 is?
Around 13. 12.
12. Around 13. 12 is around 13, right? It's right next door to it. So 12 amps is what I want to size that for. So if I have 12 amps, let's see how I want to go that. Let's see, 12 amps, and what's my voltage on a branch circuit? 120 volts. So 12 amps times 120 volts gives me 1,440 volt amps. Now how many volt amps per plug? 180? 180 volt amps per plug, and that tells me how many plugs I can have. See if I put that in there, the units actually work out. So, 140 divided by 18 gives me, what is that number? 8. Did I do that right? 40 divided by, yep, that's 8. So if I have a 15 amp circuit, I better have only 8 plugs on that circuit. That's my criteria. So every time, then I have the wall length. You know, I said I had to have a plug every 6 feet, or on a wall any greater than 2 feet. So I can actually go around the perimeter of every room in the house and say, okay, I've got so much linear feet of perimeter, that means I have to have so many plugs. That gives me how many branch circuits I got. So look at the house, look at the wall length, look at that requirement of 6 feet. I give the number of plugs I need, and then I can tell how many plugs I can put on each 15 amp circuit. Bingo, I have that many circuits in the house. I'm done with that. But I'm not really looking at that these days. I'm looking at 20 amp circuits. The 15 is because they're a little bit older. So 80% of 20 is 16 amps, and so 16 times 120 is equal to, what was that, 1920? 1920 volt amps divided by 180 volt amps, and you get 10.66 plugs. Holy cow, I got 10.66. I can't go down to Home Depot and buy 0.66 of a plug, can I? So, how many plugs are there on a 20 amp circuit allowed? 10. Remember, this is the one area where you don't round with mathematical rules. You round down. Because rounding up would mean I would be stretching the allowables on this and going over my allowables. So I have 10 plugs in a 20 amp circuit. So if I've got all 20 amp circuits, I can put 10 plugs on it. That means I can take care of 60 foot of wall perimeter, every 6 feet, yeah, with one branch circuit. So a bedroom that's, 10 by 15 gives me 30, 40, that's probably one branch circuits and 2 small bedrooms. So that's, again, it's a prescriptive way of looking at that, but you can see where it comes about. If I'm going towards 20 amp circuits and I want to be 80% rated, and we have this criteria of 180 volt amps per plug, then I can figure out how many plugs is on that branch circuit. If my requirement from the National Electric Code tells me I got to plug every 6 feet, then I can figure out how many branches in my entire house. That doesn't mean you always plug everything in every plug. It just means you have a plug available within 6 feet. Now, how do they come about that? Why every 6 feet?
Average length of the cord out of the plant.
Yeah, cord out of appliance. Also a requirement borne out by disaster. Lousy extension cords strung across rooms, people tripping off them, or they're underneath a walkway rug, and what you'll have is a traffic erosion. And what that is if you have a round cable underneath the rug and you keep walking on it for years, it'll roll back and forth every time you walk on it, and you end up years down the road where the whole side of the cable, the insulation's gone, and bingo, it touches. Now, not only do you have a short, where do you have the short? When you're stepping on it. Well, it's also under the rug. So it's a nice tinder, what I'd call it, if I was trying to start a fire in the woods. I've got kindling, you know, so not only do I have a short when I'm stepping on it, I have it under something and catch on fire. And two childhood friends that live back up in High, and that's Ohio, come from southern Ohio, you pronounce it Ohio. Anyway, they were renting a garage from a little kindly grandmother to build their drag racer in. And as he came in one day, the elderly lady says, "Can you come in and check out this lamp for me?" Well, the cord was abraded, and she didn't know, she couldn't see that, and didn't tell him anything, so he goes to plug it in, and had a ground somewhere on it, and he said, the next thing I do, I'm clean across the room on the floor. I said, "What'd you do?" He says, "Well, I told the lady her lamp was broken, she needed to buy a new lamp." Okay, fair enough. So, anyway, that's a procedure on how to figure out branch circuits. Now, 3/4 of the work in your house is done. If I'm laying out electricity in my house, all I've got to do is figure out I've got special plugs and I got branch circuits. Here's my sizing criteria. I have my linear feet of wall. I can figure out literally everything. I can lay out a whole house now. Now, I might not know the National Electric Code requirements for the number of staples when I put the Romex in the wall, or where it lines up in the wall. I might not have that, but I can lay it out in general terms. And I can size the amount of wire I need in terms of length from this, because I've got the blueprint with a scale on it. Now I know where every plug can be in every room, so I can go do a wire purchase. So it's pretty straightforward. I won't say easy, but it's fairly straightforward to get to this point.
What are studs spaced 16 inches?
16 inches.
So how would you do every 6 feet? So wouldn't it be 4.5 feet?
Well, if you've got studs, you know, a certain length apart, you know, you're going to put that outlet next to this one, right? So you've got from there to there is 16 inches, and to there is 16 inches. So that's 16 and 16 is 32, so 48. The next one is 64, that's 5, and the next one is 72, 6 feet. Yeah, so 6 stud base is 6 feet, right on the nose.
It comes to 80.
16 times 6 is 72. Yeah.
Yeah, 96.
That's a different calculator in your head.
12 times 6 is...
Oh, yes, you're right. 16 times, I'm thinking 12. Yeah, jeez. Different calculator in my head. Yeah, it's Friday morning. Who's thinking about vacation? Dang.
On that note, we can head out then?
Yeah, just thinking, some of these departments are a little different than the other departments. I have a meeting this afternoon with a bunch of people that are trying to teach a certain group of classes, and it was agreed upon by the person who called the meeting that the meeting would be off campus at a place that serves adult beverages. And I'm like, well, that's a different. Never had that happen before. Usually it's all boring. It's like, you know, the meeting's in somebody's office somewhere on campus. I'm like, okay, you're calling a meeting, I'm calling your shots. So now that we're reschooling myself in math, 72 divided by 16 would be roughly 64, and
where are you getting the 72 from?
Jeez, oh my.